one. This is Opus Nocturne. I'm slowly building my Marduk collection, and I picked up this and two of their other full lengths. This was originally released in '94 through Osmos and was the band's third full length. And Joachim av Graf handles the vocals, but not the drumming on this release. Instead, new drummer Fredrik Andersson is behind the drum kit, and he does an excellent job. And also second guitarist Devo was no longer in the band, so the band was still a four-piece with Morgan on guitars. And it contains 9 tracks, and that's a running time of 43 minutes. And on the debut, Dark Endless, it was more of an old school death metal, but this one is more of a pure 90s black metal. And the bass is very audible and very nice, and the drumming is good, and vocals too. The guitars could have been a little bit more in front in the mixing, but other than that, the production is good. And there are some slower and more atmospheric tracks like Materials in Stone, and especially the title track that's very different. And of course there are some rippers too, like Autumnal Reaper, and my favorite track, Untrodden Paths, Wolves Part 2, which is a mixture of both slow and fast. And this is a 2020 repress. It's a gatefold. And the record is on green-white marble swirl or something. Good stuff. Next up we have Nightwing. It was originally released in '98. The predecessor to Panzer Division Marduk, and it was also released through Osmos. And Nightwing contains 10 tracks and has a running time of over 47 minutes. And this sounds a little bit like, a lot like Panzer Division. It has this exact same lineup with Legion on vocals, Bogge on bass, Fredrik Andersson on drums, and of course Morgan on guitars. But this one had some longer and slower tracks like Dreams of Blood and Iron and Dracula Baida. And the outro, Anno Domini 1476, they are slow, while Panzer Division is just full steam ahead almost all the time. But my favorite tracks from this one is Oh Hell's Fire, Slay the Nazarene, and Casiglu Bay, the Lord Impaler. And all these 3 tracks would not have sounded out of place on Panzer Division. And one interesting thing about this record is that the B-side is a concept album about Vlad the Impaler, and the track Deme Quadent Tyranny was featured on the aforementioned Opus Nocturne. It's a re-recording. And Legion is my favorite Marduk vocalist, but he's not as diverse as Joachim av Graf, but I think Legion, I prefer Nightwing's version on this track. And I read some reviews, and Brain Smasher talked about how Peter Tatrin and his Abbey studio ruined a lot of black metal releases in the mid to late 90s. But I, on the other hand, was introduced to black metal shortly before the release of Panzer Division Marduk, Vobiscum Satanas, Vrede by Allegiance, At the Heart of Winter by Immortal, Triumphators, Wings of Antichrist, and Spiritual Black White Dimensions by Dimmu Borgir. And they were all recorded in the Abbey studio, so all new release I grew up with has this sound. So it's like the norm for me, and I can't really relate to the complaints at all. The only thing is that the bass guitar is often quite buried in the mix, but other than that I have no complaints. Anyway, this is also a 2020 repress. It's a gatefold. You have lyrics on the inside. The record is on transparent yellow with green splatter. Good stuff. today is this one. This is World Funeral. It was released in 2003 through Blood Dawn Productions and Helion Records. And World Funeral was the last album that featured Legion on vocals and the first with Emil Dragutinovic from the Legion on drums, replacing Fredrik Andersson. When this came out, I was a little overwhelmed by the sterile and compressed sound, but got used to it. And my version of the CD is a 2014 reissue that's been remastered, and since I don't have the original to compare it to, I don't know if there are any audible differences. It still lacks some dynamic. But anyway, it contains 11 tracks, including an instrumental outro, and has a running time of 47 minutes. And unlike, for example, Panzer Division Marduk, about half of the songs on World Funeral are much slower. Bleached Bones, Castrum Doloris, To Death's Head's True Bloodletting and Hers, except in the beginning where it's one of the fastest. But on Satan, Victorious Weapons, Cloven Hoof, the title track, Night of the Long Knives and Blessed Unholy, it's pretty much full steam ahead. So it's a great mix, even though I think they could have skipped to The Death's Head True and Blessed Unholy, since these are the weakest tracks and would have shortened the album by almost 10 minutes. So it would have been a 37-minute record instead. Other than that, this is one of Marduk's finest records in my opinion. And my version contains a couple of bonus tracks. It's a rehearsal from 2002 and a new song, Van Bass. It's pretty decent, but the rehearsals, it feels a bit unnecessary. Since it's already over 45 minutes long, I mostly skip them when I listen to the CD. And with this, I have 12 of their 14 studio albums, and those of the Unlight and La Grande Danse Macabre are the only ones I'm missing. When I get a hold of these, I will do an album ranking by Marduk. And now for some 2020 releases. First up we have this one. This is Collapse to Come by Reactorium. It was released in March of this year through Iron Shield Records. And Reactorium is a German thrash metal band that was formed in 2010 in Berlin. Collapse to Come is their third full length, and I would say it sounds a little bit like a crossover thrash, most because of the more hardcore sounding vocals and the gang choruses. In some parts remind me a little bit of older Raised Fist, a Swedish hardcore band. It's mostly pretty fast paced with the occasional slower section. It's very catchy, and while some of the gang choruses is a bit repetitive, they get stuck and they're perfect for sing-alongs. It contains 9 tracks and has a running time of around 33 minutes, which is a perfect length for a thrash record. And I think my favorite track is Graves of Concrete, but all tracks are very good. And this is one of my favorite thrash releases this year so far. Moving on for some death metal, this is Exhumation with the record 11th Formula. And this was released in February of this year through Pulverized, and there are a lot of bands that it's called Exhumation, but this particular one is from Indonesia. They were formed in 2008, and this is their third full length, and it's labeled as death metal, but apart from the roots in the vein of Autopsy and the like, it's mixed up with black thrash and bestial war metal. It's very good stuff. Sometimes it's so chaotic that you think they will derail and everything will crash, but then they get a control again. And the CD contains 11 tracks, and track 3 Formula Malediction Bells, and number 7 Formula 2 Ironheart Rapture or instrumentals, and they act as a breathing room, but they are too long. They are decent, but they could have skipped those two, and the last formula, 11th vessel, could have been in the middle instead for some breathing room. But other than that, it's said. But it's very good stuff, and if you like fast-paced and chaotic death metal rooted in autopsy, this is highly recommended. Exhumation 11th formula. The last one up is Limbo by Portuguese band Carrea. I have no idea how you pronounce their band name, but the band was born in 2016, and I have talked about the band before with the releases, the self-titled EP from 2016 and debut full length from 2018, Unsettling Whispers, and Limbo is their sophomore release. The band is labeled as black metal, but I would say it's more post-black metal than traditional black metal. And one thing that sticks out on Limbo is the massive production, especially on the drums. Unfortunately, they are too massive compared to the guitars. When they hammer away and the vocalist goes on a rant, it's very hard to hear the guitars. And it was a little bit of the same on Unsettling Whispers, except on the track Urge. There's some more death metal oriented riffing, and then the guitars are massive as well. But contains 6 tracks. It's a running time of over 50 minutes. There are no really standout tracks, and all tracks are very well written. And this is, in my opinion, a step up compared to Unsettling Whispers. It's a gatefold. You have lyrics on the inside. You get a booklet with some additional text. And the record looks like this. It's a clear yellow-black splatter, but I don't really know what the clear means in this. And it's a double vinyl. Good stuff. Check it out. Limbo, Carrea, Season of Mist.